Yeah, but
See what?
Zuckerberg
bots will
is
catch us.
watching. Yeah.
That's no fun. I
Yeah,
am looking for the
he's
YouTube
like the
link.
scrawny, joyless Santa Claus.
Ha! I like that. We
Okay,
are live on
I
both
know.
Facebook and YouTube. Um,
I'm
so, but
apparently a little
I
slow. I can't find the YouTube link. Where's the YouTube link?
Okay, got YouTube muted.
Probably a good idea.
otherwise you'll hear yourself in a really odd, slow echo.
Yep.
Not that one. Do we have any viewers yet, or I'm still clear to
Nope,
run my
I'm the
mouth?
only one.
Yeah, I'm showing.
Oh, we've got 4.
Yeah,
Copy link address. Okay, I think I found it.
so we've got some people up on YouTube, Facebook.
Oh.
None yet.
It's not it. Well, I just messed up my link copying, so
Nope,
you
you're
know, I'll
fired.
mute myself for a minute. So for all this pay, that's gonna really hurt
Yeah,
me.
no pay for this week.
Okay, I had it in here. Probably my lotion.
Okay, I've got YouTube comments on one side, Facebook comments on the other.
I've got YouTube I can put YouTube comments on screen. I cannot do that for Facebook. So pay more attention to Facebook than you do YouTube. I can watch YouTube.
Yep.
Okay,
You've got
I'm
3
just
monitors.
pulling the
so-
link off the page.
I
Show
technically have 2, but one of them is really darn small.
It's
Yeah, if I remember it, I think mine are a 30-inch and a pair of 24s.
I've got a
fine.
I think this is a 50-inch television that I have as my primary monitor, and the other is my laptop screen, which is
Oh, yeah.
Crap.
like 21 inches or something. 20, something like that.
If anybody wants to start your lead in, you can, or are we waiting for someone to care that we're here?
I mean, it's up to you guys. I haven't even got the one we recorded on Monday out to audio yet. So, yeah, here we go. Now we got comments coming in. Michael DeWine, Merry Christmas, my sisters and brothers in arms. I'll be listening while driving. Be careful, bud. Be careful listening while driving, and do not watch, please. George Geller's checking in. All right. Yeah, why don't we go ahead and we got some comments coming in. Why don't we go ahead and kick it off? So, hitting magic button in 5, 4, 3. Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 9 of the Reasonable Person podcast. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm one of your co-hosts. Joining me, as they normally do, Kat Ainsworth, deep in the heart of Texas, and Brian De Almeida, somewhere in the western wilds. We did a show on Monday, and Brian was off doing the family thing. I mean, he thinks his kids are more important than us for some reason. But we tackled a subject that Kat and I had talked about, 6 years ago or so ago. And we decided to tackle that subject again, and that was domestic violence. We got a good start on it, but we thought there was a lot more to go. So we figured we'd fire it up and shoot off round two today. Brian, you apparently you from talking pre-show, you did get a chance to watch that show from
Yeah, I did.
Monday, and you had some comments you wanted to fire off before we got started today.
Yeah. First, I have a little bit of a disclaimer here. Um, some of what I'm going to be talking about today obviously affected me personally. Um, However, both my wife and I have kids who are under the age of 18. There are active court orders that apply to myself and to others that limit some of the things that we can talk about publicly. And so I'm going to be going from some personal experience and experience of a lot of different people I've known and I've worked with in very general terms. There is nothing I'm going to relay that is aimed at or about any one specific person. It is more a composite of a couple dozen people's experiences. Um, so that disclaimer said, coming from Monday's episode, one thing you guys touched on is that generally the people who are involved in perpetrating abuse were subject to it themselves. They experience some trauma that caused them to act the way that they do, and that's how it goes. It's generational, as Paul said, but this is the important part. It does not give anybody an excuse. You can have had terrible things happen to you. Those can influence how you behave and your built in reactions to situations and how you treat people. However, that does not excuse it. As an adult, you take responsibility, you take accountability for your actions, and where you have things that you have to work on, you have to work on them. If there's somebody who's been through things that cause them to do dysfunctional things, if they are taking accountability, if they are working on it and improving, I will give them all the grace in the world. The instant somebody says, well, my childhood was like this, that's why I'm like this, and there's no effort to make improvements, that's where I no longer have any patience or goodwill for you. We've all experienced things. You have to take accountability, and you have to work on it. Do better. Every generation. That is the responsibility that falls on all of us. Is wherever we came from, we can do better, and in doing so, we all leave the world a better place.
Amen. Amen. Now, Kat, I there we had a little bit of a interaction through some messaging earlier today, and you said something that kind of surprised me. You've had people reach out to you since Monday that, and I'm not expecting you should not name names, but you've had some people reach out to you you didn't know were victims of abuse that have made contact since Monday's show.
I have, and this happened the first time around when we did this, um, which I believe was 2017, end of 2017. It happened the first time around, and then since then, when I have articles come out on the topic, every once in a while I'll get email or a Facebook message, usually on my public page, since my last name's different on my private page. But it's not uncommon, and this is exactly why I'm willing to talk about it, considering it's still uncomfortable for me too. But it's something that needs to be talked about, and some of the stigma needs to be wiped away because it happens to anybody. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah, it certainly can. One other thing I want to talk about real quick, and we since Monday we've known what the broad outline is going to be for the show today. And that's we want to talk about the escape. And one thing that hit me, and I didn't see until this morning, shortly before I went to work, was, and I'm not going to name names here either, but somebody had posted a news story, tagged both you and I, and it was a story of a young mother and daughter that were murdered, and apparently it was in the process of leaving the relationship, and the guy was tried for murder once, convicted, and got overturned on a legal technicality. Tried again, convicted again, apparently. So, look, just saying get out, I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but it's not exactly a simple process.
No, it's never that easy.
It is wildly dangerous. Um, I mean, I've been chased while driving my truck. This was years ago, but chased me down the freeway. Fantastic at stalking. Still don't know how he managed all the stalking back then because technology now it makes more sense. But you go all the way back almost 20 years and it's not the same situation at all. But it is the most dangerous time is when you leave your abuser, and it's not just women; it's men too. If people think women aren't crazy and violent, then I don't think they've been living much. Um, Statistically, it's more the men that carry these things out, but it's not only men. And I don't know, Brian, did you have any experience with this on your side?
I've known two men who, when leaving a abusive relationship with a woman, who were swatted. They had separated, and one of them came home from work to the SWAT team stacked on his door, getting ready to breach because they'd been told that he was holding his children hostage at gunpoint inside of his house. There wasn't anybody in the house. The kids were with their mother. He was just coming home from work, and fortunately avoided any bad outcome there. The other one, they knocked on the door. He came to the door, and I had to show him, no, I don't have anybody here. I don't know what call you got. Of course, they did. They knew it was either the person they were leaving or somebody associated with them who was trying to use law enforcement to carry out their dirty business. Fortunately, in the cases that I've been aware of, that has not turned out successfully and has ended up with blowback on the person who they left.
Yeah, and I'm that makes me curious if women are more likely to SWAT and try to get the cops to do the dirty work than men. Um, I there is a specific woman who here in Texas who tried very hard to convince the court that I am scary and dangerous because of my job. Not because anything ever happened, which saved me in court, of course. The lawyer just laughed at her. So did the judge. But it was tried. And I was worried for a while that she would try swatting. I have a feeling that she just hasn't thought of it or doesn't understand any of that, which is lucky for me. Um, because then the other lucky for me is that I know the sheriff here, and anywhere I'm moving to also know the sheriff. So small towns, big pros there. I have never looked into that. Do you guys know if women are more likely to SWAT a partner after a relationship ends?
I've never seen anything that gives hard numbers, but I've been aware of a couple of cases where it's either been swatting or they've attempted to utilize red flag laws in other states to to attempt forcibly disarm somebody, and that's been females and males have tried that, to my knowledge. But I'm not aware of anything as far as hard numbers go.
And this is why, and I say this so often, anyone who follows any of my work is going to be rolling their eyes because I've said it so many times. But you have to email and text and post to social media like it's going to get read in court because
Yes,
it might be.
every
And
time
I've
Likely
had that
will.
tried against me too. Oh yeah, and I've had that tried with me too, and I once again got laughed out of court, but it's been tried. It's always women. If I think about it, I can think of there's been a couple of women that are a little off the rails. So
yeah, you believe it's more likely
it's
women are going to try to use a third, are going to try to utilize a third party as opposed to going themselves, but it's certainly not only
yeah.
females who are going.
It but it does seem in my experience as a woman, which obviously is limited, it is the women who go that route instead of coming at me directly. Which is interesting. I had not really thought about it, but that is interesting for sure. But we were going to talk about escape plans. Brian, since you were not here for Monday's show, is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we dive into this?
No,
And secondarily,
the
Paul,
thing I had at
do
the
we?
beginning is the only one.
Okay. And how are we doing on viewers, Paul? Is now the time to go for it?
Oh, let me go take a peek. I got to open some different tabs. We got currently we have a few on YouTube, and we have two on Facebook. So I mean,
We are living it up tonight.
we're
Well, I
not
say we
setting
go
the
for it
world
anyway.
on fire, but let's go for it.
Before I just like dive right into this, I am going to ask you, Brian, on your side. Because I don't actually know the answer to this. I'm guessing this you can answer. Did you get away or remove her from the situation?
I eventually was sort of able to get her out of my apartment. She ended up renting an apartment in the building next door, which
Of
was
course, of
suboptimal.
course.
But yeah, we were. I mean, we were able to manage the to manage the separation. Um, I think as amicably as it could have been done. There was there was some period before we were both accepting that what this is over and it needs to be. But yeah, we were we did not have to go as far as having somebody as far as having somebody else make that decision for us and enforce it.
That answers that. That's the question I've never known the answer to. Paul, what about you? Have you had previous to Susan like a crazy ex girlfriend? Yes, I use the word crazy, or anyone that you've had to deal with in that capacity.
I've been fairly fortunate, and I had a conversation with a friend who's had a few incidences of really bad breakups, and there's a popular meme that goes around from time to time where there's the hot to crazy ratio in women, and what's the proper where's a proper spot on that line. I've always said the amount of crazy that is acceptable is zero. And so I got lucky. I got Susan when I caught Susan when I did, and she hasn't been able to shake me yet. But no, it's I haven't had much of an issue.
Okay. Um, I will just jump into it then, and I guess if you guys want to tell me to shut up so you can say something, just do. I
I'll
don't
raise my
mind.
hand.
Same for I'll ignore you if you raise your hand. That's a little too organized. We're not that organized. Um,
That's that's fair.
but we already hit on the fact that it's the most dangerous time is when you leave someone who's been abusing you. And this ties into the whole why doesn't she just leave him thing that we talked about Monday. And for like a quick quick summary of that, it's because you can never just leave someone. It's never that easy. You can't simply walk out the door and be done with it, even if you don't have kids. There's going to be entanglements, and there's going to be the risk of the threats to your life or your well being in some capacity when he or she finds out you're leaving or that you're gone. And unless you're lucky and you can flee the entire area or state quickly, um, they're going to probably going to track you down. It's just the way it is. And you're going to have to face them in court. All these things come into play. You're going to have to answer for your own actions and how you left, which is something else people don't think about. The judge wants reasonable, prudent people. And if it's just a bunch of name calling and accusations, that tends to not go well. They're not huge fans of emotions in court. Um, there are all kinds of programs and apps and downloads and things for sale that give you a laid out plan for an escape plan to get out of an abusive relationship. But the truth is, there is absolutely no cut and dry, one size fits all escape plan. And people come to that point for different reasons. Paul.
I wanted what came into my mind right there was the famous clip from Top Gun Maverick, where Maverick's being introduced to this new class of hotshot pilots. He walks to the front and he's got this huge manual. He says, "This is the manual for the F-18. I'm assuming you know it backwards and forwards." And they're all like, "Yes, we do." And he chucks the thing into the garbage. So does the enemy. If these escape plans are available to the public, if they're available for sale, do you think maybe the other person might have access to?
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the problems. I mean, heck, it's even one of the issues with us doing this podcast that I put thought into this week. I was like, well, how am I going to do this and not worry? And the bottom line is the information has to get out. And because it's not a cut and dried, one size fits all plan, and you're taking and leaving different parts, it shouldn't be possible for anyone to guess your totally formulaic escape plan. It should be a little bit random. It should be unpredictable. Um, right off the bat, I will say that perhaps the hardest part for a lot of people is you need to learn to lie. You're going to need to learn to act because they will know, especially people with personality disorders and the really hardcore abusers, they are going to notice even small changes. So being able to lie and act your way through it is important. And it might be a few days, it might be months. Because especially if you have kids, you're going to have to find money and a safe place to go somehow. And that's an entire process. It doesn't just exist overnight. And also related to that, when you tell women to just go to a shelter, first of all, it's not that simple. Shelters do not take everyone, don't have space for everyone. There's rules about the age of children too. There's all kinds of issues with shelters. So shelters are fabulous. They save a lot of lives. They are not the answer for everyone because they can't be. It's not because someone didn't try, it's because it simply does not work for them for whatever reason. And when someone on the outside looking in tries to make them explain, well, just go to a shelter. Well, because it's not that easy. Don't be an idiot. And
I've known a
yeah,
couple of women who were turned down from, who were rejected from shelters because they had teenage or near teenage boys.
hmm
And we can't
yes,
have him
yes, the
here.
boy issue.
He's practically a man. And that was the entirety of someone's plan that I knew. And she suddenly found herself short on resources. So I would add a corollary to any plan. Every step of that, you have to have contingencies. You have, as we say, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Things are going to go wrong. They're going to go sideways. Be prepared for that and have backups for when things do go
Right.
sideways.
Yeah, it's the whole if A then B, If C, then D. If F, you might be able to go back to A. Having redundant plans is really helpful. And something else that victims of abuse struggle with is that they can't write them down. You can't have a notebook sitting in your nightstand with all of your plans and accounts and all this stuff written out. And nowadays, you also can't just put it in your computer. It's super common for people who
Or your
are being
phone.
abused to not have no privacy. Their abuser is going to know their passwords. They're going to have access to those things. And if they change the access, that person gets suspicious, which can get ugly fast. Um, so, what some people do is have a friend hold on to information for them. If they have the financial ability and the ability to travel to a bank, they might use a lockbox for their plans. But I will say that trusting your memory, terrible idea. Stress and adrenaline do horrific things to your memory. So that is not going to work. You have to come up with some way to have that plan formalized somewhere. And it's not uncommon, as we all know, for someone who's abused to also have no friends that can help them with it. Because being isolated is really common. So, what do you guys suggest? So outside of a lockbox or a trusted friend, what would you think would work?
I have known a couple people who kept their written stuff at work at their desk because they worked in a ID monitored environment where people could not just walk in, and so they kept that stuff in their office at work where their partner should not conceivably have access to it. Jesus, sorry, my dogs.
Right, work is a big one. And then there's the people who either can't work or they work remote. So you're right back at square one with everything's going to be in the house. Storage units are useful for this too. And again, it's not always possible to hide these things. So
No, it
it's
is.
not one size fits all. If you're in a situation where you can both pay for and hide the fact that your storage unit exists, have the paperwork sent somewhere else, sent to a friend's or house or relatives. Although I will say, in my experience, the relatives are worse to deal with than the friends with this kind of thing. So often it comes down to, God, he's so charming. He's so nice. Oh, well, he was never like that with me. Well, no, I mean, no kidding, dude. Not like that with you, because usually there's one face for the public and there's one face for the house. And the two very rarely change or slip. The masks are in place when they leave. So, and that's part of discrediting the victim too, because as soon as you actually leave, the smear campaign begins.
Hmm. And it is not common for families to fracture along religious lines.
Mm, yeah,
Either
happens
the
a lot.
all divorce is bad, or you seem to not be very enthusiastic about the church that we raised you in, and your partner is. So obviously you're in the wrong here. I've seen that
Right,
happen
exactly.
all the time, especially here in Utah.
Yeah, yeah, and religion had a major role in some of mine as well.
Yep.
Um, and for a lot of people, when they finally realize they need to get out and they don't know where to start, it helps to just pick something, make it your first thing. Maybe you can open a P.O. box in only your name in a different town, so any mail goes to that P.O. box. Now, the follow up to that is that means you've got a key to that P.O. box. And you'd be surprised what abusive people notice. So think of that too. Okay, I've got the P.O. box. I know I can keep that hidden. Where can I put the key where it will absolutely not be found? And sometimes that circles back to a lockbox at a bank or a storage unit.
Hmm.
Sometimes you have to get really creative. Sometimes it is the junky car that has been up on blocks for God knows how long, and they just don't go near it. And and you're very sure that if you put that key somewhere in that junky car that just sits there on blocks, it will not be found. So whatever you do, you have to stop thinking like yourself, stop thinking like someone who's rational and reasonable, and start thinking like someone who is hell bent on destroying you, because they're not nice people, and it's hard for me to censor myself with this, but I'm doing good so far. Once you have your PO box, you can have mail for your own individual secret bank account sent to that PO box. You can have any rental agreements or contracts, if you're able to get that far, if you're with your plan, can go to that PO box. And putting it even in an entirely different county can work. You can do all of that online now, by the way. If you're worried about getting to the post office without being noticed, all the post office box maintenance is online now, which sometimes irritates the crap out of me, but it's also handy because you can sign up for and renew payments on all that stuff on the internet. You don't actually have to physically go in. You can get it going without being there. Same for cell phones. You don't have to physically go in anymore.
Mask your that you're able to cover up your online activity if it's on a device that that individual may have access to.
Yes.
And incognito
That's
mode in
the
your
other
browser
part.
is not sufficient. I'm not an IT security
No,
professional. I've worked with enough of them to know that you need to be a lot more secure than that.
Yep, and just deleting your browser history doesn't always do it either. You can't forget about the cookies and all the ways that your computer remembers what websites you have been to, so that when you start typing something in, it fills in the rest for you. It gives you that autofill option. You kind of have to become a little bit of a subject matter expert on random things, including properly, fully clearing your history. And that's another, yeah, Paul?
One thought that's been coming into my head, and Alex Uli has been on this show even before. If you can, uh, you can retain an attorney, and they are not only morally, they are legally bound to have your best interests at heart. Not necessarily the best interests of the marriage, not necessarily the best interests of any, but they are required to have your interest at heart. And almost without exception, they should be able to do things like get mail for you. They ought to be able to do things like facilitate things for you.
Yes, they can. Yeah, the only real obstacle there is generally you're looking $3,000 to $5,000 for a basic retainer fee, which not everybody, especially people escaping controlling abusive relationships, are able to do. But by all means, that is absolutely one of the things you should do, because you're if you are married, if there are children involved in the relationship, you are guaranteed that you're going to have to deal with the court system in some way at some point in this. And it's best to make sure that you are not shooting yourself in the foot, so to speak, by by doing things that end up reflecting badly on you in court. And your attorney's advice is the best place to go for that. Don't go to ask a lawyer on Reddit, please, or anywhere on your social media. Oh, have you ever looked through that subreddit, Kat? It's insane.
Yeah.
Some of the things
Yeah.
people ask, and some of the
Yeah.
people claiming to be attorneys give as advice. Just stay away from Reddit.
Oh, and some of them probably are attorneys.
Some of them are.
And some of them probably are. And and like Brian said, it is then it's wild, and I find this strange because 20 years ago the family law retainer was about $3,500. And nowadays it hasn't changed much. You're still in that $3,000 to $5,000 range, and that's just to get started, of course, because your average rate is anywhere from $250 to $500 an hour for your lawyer. And if there's kids involved, it's going to get expensive fast. Unfortunately, family court tends to be about who has the most money and will wear the other person down. Um,
That's
Legal
court.
aid is something I
That's not family
court in
court.
general.
That's court.
That's the legal system.
It's messy. It's so messy, and I think family court is ridiculously corrupt. But that is a discussion for another day. Um, I totally lost train of thought. So, legal aid is something that I have pointed quite a few women to when there was no other option. I've had some good experiences with legal aid because I've taken people there before for help and tried to help along with the legal aid team. But I've also seen horrifically bad issues with legal aid attorneys. So it is really six of one, half a dozen of another. You might or might not get an attorney that gives a crap on legal aid. So if you can find a way to pay for an attorney, do it. A lot of them actually do take payment plans. And I will say, consider going to a woman if you are a woman. Unfortunately, there's just some biases that are there. I mean, there are with women too. But the female lawyers, in my experience, are often more receptive to assuming that the woman is in the right no matter what, which sounds terrible, but it's true. And maybe a little gentler on a payment plan. Now, there are ways you can get money together. It may not be overnight, it's going to take months. But you can donate plasma. Unless you're on certain meds, most people, not all, but most people can donate plasma. There's all kinds of ways to bring in a little bit of money here and there. Start collecting change, unless, of course, you're with someone who's abusive who monitors the change, because some of them do. But you're probably doing all the laundry. Go through the pockets. And it's demeaning, and it might feel terrible to just be pulling in 50 cents or a dime here or there, but it adds up faster than you think. So anytime you get a chance to pull in a few extra dollars, do it.
Yeah,
You just have to do it.
$20 of cash back when you buy groceries.
You can't do that anymore.
Even
You can't. You will get caught if your abuser watches bank statements. It used to be you could do cash back, because I've used that method. And it would just be cash back. Your withdrawal on your account will say, $60 at Walmart. Okay. I could show you on my bank account right now that when you get cash back now, it says purchase XYZ and cash back. And it's not just Wells Fargo.
I'm going to go on my USAA account.
That's something people really need to be aware of. I know Wells Fargo shows it. Bank of America shows it. A lot of these smaller town banks like Herring and stuff here show it. And a lot of women are given that advice because, 10 years ago, that worked. It doesn't anymore. It is possible to maybe, this depends on how closely you're monitored, to pay for some of someone else's groceries and have them give you the cash instead. That's going to depend on if your receipt gets checked to see if it matches what's in your bag. But you can be creative, and it'll make you feel a little crazy sometimes, but it's worth it in the end. And Brian's staring at his monitor. Did you find USAA yet, or?
Yeah, I'm looking through right now to see what's there.
Yeah, that used to be really common advice, and the second burner phone thing too, which is really hard to hide now, which takes us all the way back to the post office box, or like Paul said, if you have that attorney, if you can manage to get the attorney, all the mail and stuff can go to the attorney's office. So it's invaluable to have a good attorney. But man, try to do your best you can to make sure they're not a piece of crap attorney, because there's a lot of snakes out there, unfortunately. And you need to try to do the footwork on the research. Waiting to see if Brian found something.
It does not look like USAA shows that. It just shows grocery, at the which grocery store, what day, how much, and it just notes, paid with ATM card, debit transaction.
Uh,
That
yeah, you
may
have to
that may
really be
also
aware of that
on the
because
I was going to say
it
that may
shows up
also
in the
depend
app
on,
and on the website.
yeah,
Yeah, app and
that's
website, and of course receipts. So it's one of those
and
things. You might be able to use your card to pay for someone else's gas and have them give you the money for it. It all these things depend on so many other factors and what's
mhm.
being watched and checked and monitored.
Something to
You have to
keep in
get
mind if
creative.
you manage to get a burner phone
Hmm.
is be aware of who manages your Wi-Fi in the house, because you can log into the router and you can see all devices that are connected. And if there is a new phone connected to the Wi-Fi, somebody who's paranoid and controlling is going to go, "Hey, what the hell is this?" And they're going to start looking for it.
It's not just the Wi-Fi either. You can see who's logged into Amazon Prime accounts, Netflix,
Yes, you can.
anything. So don't slip. You cannot afford to slip on any of that. And they'll often show you the city and state. So if you, for some reason, didn't change your passwords, whatever you need to do, personally, I would just nuke all of your accounts when you leave. I mean, you're walking out the door, deleting everything. You can restart everything. It's worth it as opposed to the risk of that person finding your location because it's not that hard on all
No,
of
it
these
isn't.
streaming accounts and devices. It's much easier than it used to be. Now, something else I have to say about burner phones or phones in general. Faraday bags used to be awesome for blocking cell phone signals. So if you, for whatever reason, don't want your phone to be emitting a signal that can be tracked, you drop your phone in a Faraday bag and it would be fine. But they're not flawless anymore. Smartphone technology has changed. Faraday bags haven't really kept up like I wish they would. Um, they can work very well. They are not nearly as flawless as they once were. So you need to be aware of that they are not 100% anymore. Um, I have one that my bonus dad sent me that has actually helped me out with someone who's been tracking me. Very interesting. I found out through a police officer that I know, apparently quite easy to track someone if you just know their phone number. And, if you have no scruples and don't care about the law, really not hard to track somebody and what they're doing and where they are. Um, and you can say, oh, turn your location off. Do you know how hard it is to actually, truly, fully turn your location off on everything? And what if you need your Google Maps or something? So there are so many factors. I mean, I could quite literally write a book about it. Um, you have to think like someone who's not reasonable and someone who's out to get you. It's not paranoia if they really are after you, okay? And even the abusers who are only emotionally and verbally and mentally abusive, who haven't escalated to physical violence, um, frequently escalate to physical violence when you leave. And you need to keep that in mind. Don't think, oh, they'd never hit me. Do you know that? Do you really know that? Because every human on earth is capable of violence. It's just a matter of what the trigger is. What's that thing that will make that person commit some violent act? We've all got it. For a lot of us, it's our kids. Um, it just depends on the person. Paul looks like he's thinking. Paul,
I
we
no.
have this is a little drier than Monday. Trying to get through all the money and stuff. Something else that is scary as a mom is worrying about your kids because once you go through that, you did get out. Okay, great. Now you have to go to court for custody. Especially in this day and age, thinking you're just going to hide it's not going to work, you guys. It's not. You can try, but it will not work. Not in the long run. And then you'll really lose custody because you fled. And We all get the Amber Alerts on our phones for that kind of stuff. So every psychologist I've talked to, and I'm one of those people who over researches everything, big time, um, will has said and will say that it's still better to leave than to stay just so you can monitor all the interactions between your abuser and your kids. It's better if they're removed from as much of it as possible. It's not, well, God, one time, what about visitation? You can't control that. You do your best to keep your kids safe. You can't control visitation. This is another reason to have a good lawyer. So you have some way to put restrictions on visitation or whatever needs to be done from a fact based standpoint. Okay, guys, not emotions. You've got to get super cold. Um, I get told all the time by people that my RBF is really bad. And
Me
frankly, I
too.
don't think it existed. I don't think it existed 20 years ago. I don't think it was anything like it is now. I had to learn this. And there are benefits to being that cold. It doesn't mean you're not upset, but you don't have to show it. And having a good lawyer is absolutely vital for that. Getting your kids into therapy, absolutely vital. And if you're thinking, well, geez, I have the court order, I have all the custody stuff mapped out, they're just going to do what they want anyway. Well, yeah, they are. They are. Having the court order there means that you have something to go back to for enforcement and contempt down the road, as long as you have solid proof of something. It's very rarely a quick process. Very rarely. It can take years. And I hate how many kids slip through the cracks. And I hate how money based the system is. I despise it.
Yep.
Absolutely infuriating. Um, I won't even say how much money has gone into stuff with my stepkids. It's obscene, and I've about burned
It
myself
really
out
is.
working to try to get it done. It is. There's
Yeah, I
no
know you have
excuse. It is
years.
it is a system made for making money. It is, and most states are mother states. So if you're an abused woman, that's going to benefit you. If you're an abused man, boy, is that going to hurt you, because everyone is hardwired to believe the woman, whether it's true or not. And I mean, again, I'm coming back to finding a good lawyer and finding a way to pay for it. If you're collecting change, donating plasma, finding tiny things around the house that he won't notice are gone and selling them. And it's rough. It's rough. That's why it can take months or a year. But if you do something small every day toward getting out, it will also help your own mental state. It helps. If you're just like, well, okay, I can't do much today, but I did this. Can't do much, but I found $1 on the ground and I added it to my stash. And you're thinking, God, that's depressing. Yeah, it is. But when this is all behind you, you'll look back and be glad you did it. And you'll be glad that you put the effort and the time and any shame and embarrassment into it. You'll be glad.
I want to take a little bit of a humorous left turn here, not a hard left. We're going to stay on topic, but I was told I have RBF at work the other day. Not the type you're talking about.
You do.
I was told I have resting bored faced. I look bored even when something extremely exciting is going on.
I've been told that too.
I believe it. I've had several, they're all women, several people I've met on business trips or industry events have told me that I looked like a real. Can I say the B word, Paul, or is that censored out? We're on YouTube and whatnot.
Yeah, go. I mean,
I'll say
that's
witch.
there you go.
I looked like a real witch. Well, God, when I first met you, you looked like a real witch. Now, sometimes it's you looked like one, and I still think you are one. Screw you. That happens too. Um,
Yeah.
but I've even schooled my daughter, who is about to turn 23, to perfect her RBF, and the reason is because it's a fabulous defense mechanism for women. Um, if you look like you should not be messed with or bothered, you're far less likely to be messed with or bothered. And what you have to watch in court is looking like you have no emotion. Like, you don't really care. You're like a robot. It's again, I keep saying this, and I'm Brian. I feel like I'm repeating myself so much. Get a good lawyer. Find a way to pay for it. Um, Beg money from somebody. It's
It's
more
true.
important than you think. Now, if you can't afford a lawyer and you just need to get out, then do it. Go to legal aid. Do as much research as you can. Get out. If you can't get into a shelter, get a studio apartment. It might suck. Maybe you have several kids. You want more space, but leave. Maybe you have pets you don't want to leave behind, and I anyone who knows me will tell you that it would be like ripping out my own heart and stomping on it to leave my pets behind. My pets are everything. Leave them. I'm sorry, your well-being and the kids are the priority. So you can get pets later, and that's terrible. And yes, your abuser will sometimes kill, release, or otherwise do away with pets. It happens. Had it happen to me. But you just have to get out. Getting out is the bottom
I've
line. Um, yeah,
say I've known more than one person who ended up having to get themselves out and kind of leave and end up leaving the kids at the house kind of in limbo until the police would actually act and arrest the other party, or until they were able to push things to court and say, okay, we are now separated. We are now required to submit a temporary parenting plan that will be in existence for the duration of the legal proceedings.
yeah,
In those
happens.
cases, it was not great for the kids. The long term outcome, from the perspective of years later, because all of these kids I interact with at least a couple times a year, they're better off. They're better off than if their parents had stayed together in the amount of dysfunction that was going on in that house. Short term, having one parent gone and maybe able to see them on an occasional weekend was not great for them. Long term, I believe from observation those kids are far better off, and both partners are better off as people in the
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
cases that I've seen.
yeah. That's absolutely true. And sometimes you are the flea in the middle of the night with a kid situation. At the end of mine, I used to sit in a chair in the corner of the bedroom and watch him sleep because he spent so much time telling me that I would never see Grace again. And she was a toddler at the time, or he would do this or that. And I was too scared and anxious to sleep, but also knew I couldn't risk leaving the room. So it happens. Trust me, today you may not recognize yourself. The person you once were or could be is gone. But you'll recognize yourself again one day. And the first step is getting out. But there's dozens, hundreds of steps in the process to getting out. When you can get out, you can immediately start working. Shelve your pride. It doesn't matter if you have a college degree. Go work at McDonald's. Do what you
Anywhere you can
have
get a
to
job.
do to bring money in. Absolutely. I mean, anything you can do for money. And the economy is not good right now, and jobs are scarcer than the mainstream media would like you to believe. But you can find something. You might be cleaning houses, you might be a janitor at a school. You push, and you push until your fingers bleed. It's just life. And no, it's not fair. And yeah, you got dealt a total shit hand, but it's
Nothing's
not
fair.
the hand you're dealt. It's like, no, it's not, and it's not the hand you're dealt. It's how you play it.
Yep.
It is what it is. Um, I could go a lot of ways on this. Do you guys have any thoughts or questions on some? There's so many other aspects. I almost don't even know where to go. But it's almost 9. So
Wow, it is.
There. Yeah.
yeah,
There are some thoughts from the male perspective that that I think are a little unique from much of the narrative we normally hear, because normally when this subject is discussed, we're talking about women, and for good reason. I mean, women are by far more commonly subjected to domestic violence, but for men, there are parts of this process that can be completely emasculating. There are parts of getting away that will scare the piss out of you, because you know that in most places, when you walk into family court, if you're trying to protect your children, you are already at a disadvantage for being male. When it comes to criminal investigations, I have known men who walk into a room and intimidate everybody, who have suffered significant injuries at the hands of a woman less than half their body mass. Somebody who, at any second he decided to, he could physically dominate and break her. But he cannot do anything to defend himself, because sometimes so much as try to block a strike, when somebody will call the cops, he will go to jail every time. And then he's doubly in disadvantage when it comes to court. There are no shelters. There are no foundations out to help men. There are very few stories that give men any hope. You were told, when somebody says you are going to lose your children, there's a real chance that can happen, even if you haven't done anything wrong. And sometimes it takes a lot for a man to come to the understanding that he is being severely mistreated. He is subject to abuse. And I have seen that break some of the toughest guys I've ever known. And there isn't much in the way out there in help and support. It's a case of nobody's coming to save you. Hopefully you've got some people who can at least be trusted and will listen. But you've got to save yourself, and you've got to save your kids. And that's universal. Sometimes it's swallowing pride, it's swallowing a lot of shame, to go and make the police report that this happened. And you never know. I know in far too many cases, police reports are made, they get involved, and nothing ever goes to trial. Nothing ever gets a guilty plea. You brought up last week, Kat, discovering that a person can in fact be raped by their spouse. People do get arrested for that. It never goes to trial. Why? Because that prosecutor, in order to get a conviction, has to first convince a jury of 12 people who weren't smart enough to get out of jury duty that is something that can happen. They have that hurdle and that's before they ever get to presenting any evidence of the event that happened. They've got to convince them, all 12 of them, that can happen. And that is too much of a hurdle for many cases like that to get the prosecution. Again, a man who's been physically or sexually abused by a woman can virtually guarantee that she will never see a day in court. She will never see a day in jail, no matter what she did. Unless it gets to the point of she's stabbing or shooting him, chances are that's never going to go to court. Because again, there's a huge hurdle there that has to be surmounted with any jury before you can even get to the facts of the case. And prosecutors know that, and by God, the defense attorneys know it. And so very, very often, people never receive the vindication out of the legal system of this happened and somebody and the person who did it was punished. Most likely, they will not be in the vast majority of cases. Be a man or be a woman. Unfortunately, we work with a legal system, not a justice system, and you are going to have to be able to handle the effects when you're not really vindicated in court, even if you were completely in the right and you were 100% were a victim. Most of the time, all you've got is your kids, and now you're safe. And now you have a chance to rebuild and hopefully not make the same mistakes. Because whether even as a victim of abuse, you made mistakes. There were things that you missed. One of the things that you brought up that came up as should be a big red flag is the lack of privacy. You have somebody invading your privacy, insisting on having your passwords, tracking your location. That's a big blinking red sign that this may not be a healthy relationship, or this may not be a healthy person to be involved with.
Let me draw a parallel though. Because
Absolutely.
and this is not exactly, this is more of a counterpoint. I insisted that Susan has every password to everything I've got. I demand it that way.
That's absolutely different.
And this past summer, let's face it, I am a going on 60-year-old male. I've had a stroke. I've had a cardiac event that they didn't technically call a cardiac, but I've now got a stent in my heart. My chances of living for another 60 years are slim and none, and Slim just left town. My wife's grandmother passed at the age of 98. My wife's mother's going very strong in her late 80s. My wife is gonna outlive me. Let's just face facts. I made Susan go out on her own with her own credit, and she got her own car without the only thing I went with her to the dealer and I told the salesman, you will show her more than one car and she will pick the one she wants. And I told, and when she found one she liked, I said, with that make, get the extended warranty. That was the extent of my involvement. But I want that because I want her to be able to, in the event I slip off the mortal coil before I'm expected to, I want her to be able to handle it herself. There is I'm 100% the opposite of what you were describing. Does Susan go through my wallet if it's sitting on top of the dresser? I don't think so, but I don't know that she does. It would surprise me if she did. Does she go through my emails? I don't think so, but yeah, I have no way of saying absolutely not. There's got to be, if they're coming into your life, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if they're coming into your life more than you want them to, that should be a red flag. I let Susan have absolutely any access she wants to anything.
And the difference there is consent. You guys are being my wife and I have constant location sharing turned on Google Maps. We can look we can look at any time and see where one of us are. It mostly gets used for me to see when she's headed home from work, so I can start throwing dinner on the table, or tell kids, yeah, mom's going to be home in 5 minutes. She's never neither of us have ever gone and looked at, oh, you're not where I expect to be. Hey, what are you doing? Because we trust each other. The location sharing is consensual because it's helpful. My most of my email accounts are all open on a tab on my browser. She can come up to my desktop at any time, open it up, and dig through my emails. She never has. I could leave my phone sitting around unlocked, and she would not be going through my text messages saying, "Hey, who's this cat? Why the hell are you talking to her 5 times a day?" Well, usually it's because I'm sending off color memes, but but you know what? With my wife, the woman I'm married to today, I can leave crap open and don't care. If she were to ever see something that concerned her, she would ask me, and it would not be you you're cheating on me, aren't you? I cannot say that has been the case in every relationship I've been in. Where where I've had a partner trying to dig through my phone and say, "Who's this person? Why did you say this 6 days ago? We've been friends for 15 years. That doesn't matter. There's it the difference is consent and trust. When somebody's invading your privacy because they're demanding and insisting on control, that's a red flag. If you are purposefully being open because you trust each other, it's a totally different thing. And there are shades of gray in all of that. It all depends on each person. We're all different. But I think the biggest thing I can tell people is if something doesn't feel right, trust yourself. And when somebody shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Don't be the frog in the pot of water. When you feel that heat, heed the warning.
We
You know
are
what? Be a little suspicious of people. Don't you cannot be so trusting because you're trusting part of yourself and potentially children down the road to somebody who you don't yet know.
we are just over an
Yeah.
hour into this. Kat, I'm going to go to you first. Any final thoughts on this? And I have thought of a left turn that I do want to make that's off topic that I'll get to here in a minute.
I actually do want to very cautiously um, address something Brian was talking about with men trying to report abuse or deal with abuse in the legal system. I have firsthand experience with a sheriff here in Texas who mocked a man who was assaulted by his ex, barely took a half-assed police report. And then later, when the lawyer asked for a copy of the police report, told the lawyer it never happened and didn't exist. Now, fortunately, he had a copy of the police report signed by that sheriff. So there was proof. And then the sheriff was all, "Oh, I forgot." Really, dude? First of all, no, you did. It's a very small town. Um, my point is women are typically given the benefit of the doubt in abusive situations. Men really aren't, especially if it's a big guy and a smaller woman. It's always all, "You can be scared of her. She's so little." There's no reality in that. That's like these idiots online who see a person with a gun being threatened by someone with a knife saying, "He just has a knife. It's just a knife." Man, I'd rather be shot than stabbed.
I'm with
Um,
you.
I mean, completely, absolutely. And knives are way worse than you think they are. Can't you just shoot it out of his hand? Can't you just control that woman? Sure, as soon as you touch her, you're going to get charged with assault and battery. Let me
Exactly.
know how that works for you. And the legal The legal definition for assault and battery varies somewhat by state, but the reality is that as a general rule, and okay, disclaimer, not a lawyer, just spent a lot of time in the self-defense world, have for over a decade. Once you touch them, you have moved into battery. In some states, they are married together and doesn't really matter. In others, they are treated separately. But no,
Yeah,
don't. I'm sorry, but going into this, don't expect the legal system to be fair or just at all because it's not. It's a big steaming pile of crap that we have to deal with. And all you can do is try to come out the other side alive. And that sounds so awful, but it is true. And now, what you can do is you can work to unseat horrible judges, get someone else in their spot. You can work election campaigns. You can try to get a new sheriff. He's gone. These are things you can do. And it's the long game. It can take years, but you have to realize that if they're treating you this way, it's not just you. It's
yes,
going
it's
to be
systematic.
a pattern of behavior. It is. So try to deal with it. If you have any energy left, which often we don't, you try to deal with it. On the escape plan side, Paul, there's so much I could say. I guess I will say if this reaches someone who needs tips on an escape plan, they can always contact me and I'll answer. Um, Being secretive and lying about things is the hardest part often of escape plans. The day you get out, utterly terrifying. The day I escaped, I was immediately dealing with the cops because it was an immediate problem. Even though I tried very hard to separate myself physically so that couldn't happen, it still ended up happening. He found me. So just be aware that it's messy and it's dangerous. It is not to be taken lightly. If you know someone in that situation, don't be a jerk. Don't say, well, he or she never acts like that with me, because trust me, you don't know that person if you don't live with them. You don't know.
That's true.
And my last thing would be there's not always two sides to a story. Something you'll hear a lot is, well, there's three sides. There's his side, there's her side, and then there's what really happened. Sure. Okay. But in a lot of abusive situations, there aren't two sides to the story. Someone is abusing the crap out of someone else for funsies. There isn't another side, not one that's truthful and honest. So don't always fall back on that. And if you are someone who's being abused and you have a friend or a family member who can look you in the eye and say, well, I'm sure you did something to deserve it. My biological parents used that line on me once. Um, you did something to deserve it. You instigated this somehow. You set him off. Well, you're a problem too. Well, you're not blameless. Get him out of your life. Learn to burn your bridges. Don't just burn them, blow them up. You're done. You do not need that crap in your life. And
Yeah,
I think that would be my final word on that.
As coming from a self defense advocate and a Second Amendment advocate, that's how I got into podcasting, was my strong beliefs in the Second Amendment. I'm going to add one more thing, and it's something that's been almost touched on, but not quite. If you are in a relationship and you are having to get out in an escape type situation, I'm going to beg of you, if it is all within you, look into getting self defense training. There are a lot of training. Most of that involves firearms. I'm not going to lie to you. Most self defense training involves firearms. There's some that doesn't. Doesn't matter. The one thing you absolutely need is, should be at the very beginning of every self defense class, is situational awareness. You need to sharpen your situational awareness like never before. Get into some type of learning about self defense. And if that specifically isolates situational awareness, that's all the better. If you want to get into martial arts, cool. If you're maybe like me, a little too old for martial arts or a little too uh,
Broken like
past
me.
your prime, uh, look into firearms. It could very well happen if you're in a situation where you have to escape, your life may be on the line, you may need those skills. And the one skill that'll set you the best is situational awareness so you can escape a situation before it comes to the point where deadly force has to be used.
Yeah,
And please
100%.
don't get a gun if you can't use it against another human being, like your soon to be ex. Don't do it
Yeah,
because it can be taken and
I've
used against you. So,
I have over the years had quite a few women who were sent over to me by by mutual acquaintances of talk to my friend here for for your introduction into firearms, how to shoot, how to safely how to safely store, how to clean and maintain, and because that I can do. I'm not a defensive instructor. I have not spent near enough time studying that stuff to consider myself as such. But this is how you safely operate. This is the ammunition that it takes. This is how it functions. And your basic shooting mechanics I can do. I've done many times. That's where I've learned a lot of how these things end up happening. Is I I'm not sure why they get sent to me. Apparently, I read is safe for scared women. I'm not sure, but it's something I've done. It's something I will continue to do, and then I point them towards actual trainers who can who can teach them beyond the very basics. And yeah, if you are in this situation, um, my I think my public facing profiles are linked with the podcast now as well. I you can also reach out to me for help finding resources. And between between Kat and I, there's a large network kind of behind both of us there that
across the country.
can be leveraged to help you if you need it, because nobody should be living in fear every day. Whether it's fear of upsetting them or just fear of existing in the same room. That is not life. That is barely existing. And whatever you may think, whatever you may have been told, you do not deserve that. And we'll help however we can.
All right, we are now a minute and our hour and 13 minutes into the show that is you normally lasts an hour. We're not going to be able to cut this one down to an hour. I just know we won't.
Sorry.
So it's going to be a little bit of a long. Hey, I ran it too. I do want to make that fun left turn we always make at the end of the show,
Please.
and I want to know what is the best widely available beer in the United States, and why is it Pabst Blue Ribbon?
It's Shiner Bock, you moron.
Shiner Bock is also gross, and I am a huge.
No, it
I
isn't.
love Shiner. Okay, I love Shiner. I hate Bock. It's like the nastiest dark lager ever. If you want a good dark, go with a classic. Go to Guinness or be really classy and start
Guinness is
getting yourself some
stout.
of the good stuff. Yeah, I know, but Bock is like it's like it can't decide what it is. And Pabst Blue Ribbon is like horse pee. I will be
Oh,
honest.
come
I think it's like
on.
horse pee. No, I've never actually tried horse pee, so I can't say that for sure, but it's what I assume it would be like. I assume.
No, I have two beers that are my go-to. Pabst Blue Ribbon around when I'm home, simply because it's available. I can always, always, always find it. When I get anywhere outside the upper Midwest, I will go with Dos Equis, which is the best beer on the planet, bar none.
We are going to fight over this. Your taste in beer is
Oh,
atrocious. I mean, truly awful. Man.
I love the
I mean,
crispness of a Dos Equis. It is so
hot weather
it's
beers, Modelo, Tecate, Dos Equis. I'm sorry, Mexican beers when it's hot are where it's at. Or if you happen to be in Aruba, Balashi is fantastic. Except they only sell it in 7.4 ounce bottles, so you have to order them by the bucket of half a dozen to have any significant amount. But winter beers, when it's cold, stouts,
Shiner
red ale.
cheer.
I can't
Shiner
get it here.
cheer. What's wrong with you? I don't.
I
Too
can't get it.
bad. It doesn't mean it's not good. I actually
You're a
really like cheer.
16-hour
It's like
drive
the
away.
best thing. I mean, it sounds like a
You're in
personal
Utah.
problem to me.
If you're in Utah, pretty much anything from Red Rock Brewery or Bohemian Brewery is fantastic. But well,
Mm.
unless it's an IPA, all IPAs are shit. Sorry. Oh,
Yeah, I'm not an IPA person.
no,
I
not at
tried
all.
that in my 20s. No, mm-mm. And I went to some like of the cool craft places and stuff up in Washington.
so
No,
you were in the place for it when we
disgusting.
were in our 20s.
I was.
There's
It was
been a
the
good
place. I went to some great places.
of it.
This one time I went with a friend after work, and she was a hardcore vegetarian. And we got like one of those little pizzas those fancy IPA places sell, thinking it was a vegetarian pizza. It had meat on it, and that is how I found out that if you've been a vegetarian for long enough and eat meat, you might actually vomit on the spot. That is my IPA story. It's not really related, but it's what I always remember is Beth puking all over the place. So charming stories. I know everyone's glad they heard that one. Paul's like, I'm cutting this now before it gets any weirder.
Well, we could always
I
throw.
like balls though, so I like balls though. Of course.
Okay,
Thank you.
are we talking buzz balls? I keep seeing those in the liquor store, and I've never bought
Okay.
them because I'm not in college.
No, you should try just for the heck of it. I got the one that has the Will Ferrell as Elf on the front. It's maple something. Um, I can't remember what it's called. Sugar something, and it's really freaking sweet. But I got a couple for Grace and I to try on Thanksgiving while we were cooking, and it was fun. It was just fun. I know I wouldn't drink them normally, but Rachel's right. I mean, if you want to
She
be
is.
talk about that, I mean this this is Four Roses. This is not water or anything like that. So
Four Roses is decent bourbon. Although, generally, if I'm given the choice, I'll generally pick a rye whiskey over bourbon. But I'm
mm,
very, very happy with either. Just, okay, I'm going to get crucified for this. No scotch, please. I do not
I'm not a big
like
Scotch person.
I do not like the flavors of burned dirt. And my wife and I argue
I
about
have
this.
to agree.
My wife and my best friend both love their scotch. I do not appreciate it. I will be very, very happy with a bourbon or a nice spicy rye whiskey.
I'll stick
And a
with my
good
beer.
cigar. I am a fan of a good cigar.
Oh, that's
I
I.
don't know.
I'm going down to the Virgin Islands next month, and that is the one thing I am the most well. Besides snorkeling, I'm looking forward to going down and getting some really really good cigars.
Rub it in and
Yeah.
say hi to the mutuals for me.
Absolutely will.
I know why that's your destination.
All
Yeah.
right,
Tell them hi for me, please.
will do. Let's go ahead and let's do set this one aside now that we're almost an hour 20 minutes into it. Let's go ahead and set this one aside. We'll do this sometime in the future again. I do not know exactly when. I've got the one we recorded on Monday that still has to go out as of right now, still has to go out on audio. Then about a week later, this one will come out. I do not know for sure when we're recording again because we are only, as we speak, 2 weeks away from Christmas. I think we're going to sneak one in before then, but I cannot swear to it. Do not
And
know a
it'll be a
topic.
happier topic.
Yeah,
It'll
it's
be a
gonna,
happier topic, please.
exactly. Probably something light and airy like the 10th Amendment. I don't know, but we will come up
No,
with something.
smack you with the newspaper.
Just not across the nose,
That's
please.
for the beer. That's for the beer. Pabst.
All right, everybody. We are going to shut this down. Podcast listeners, thank you for listening. Please subscribe, and if you want to get your comment in, it's doggone it, TRPP
TRPP
1776 at yahoo.com. Send your comment in. We'll get it on the air. I've yet to get our first listener email into that one that I've seen, unless you guys have gone in there and deleted one that I didn't see. So
Us.
I'll guarantee you the first one to email that with a comment will make the air. But that's going to do it for us today. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Okay, we're clear of recording, and I'm going to shut the streams down now. Streamers, everybody watching us live stream, thanks, everybody.
Yep,
You come
thank
and
you.
see us. We'll try and give you enough notice like we did this time. We'll try to give... uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Okay.
That's just me on the YouTube.
Yeah, Woodford, yeah. Woodford's, I mean, I don't do a lot of hard liquor, but Woodford's pretty good. All
I
right.
don't drink very much of it, but yeah.
I've still got Susan. When did we get that Maker's Mark? We've had that for forever. When did we have that? Who was over that we had that from? I stumped her.
That doesn't happen often.
We had somebody
Usually
over.
the returns.
We had somebody over. Oh, I think I do. I think it was Dr. John Dean that we had over, and we had some of that Maker's Mark. So, alrighty.